Hey there, it's Derek from Pacific Coast Auto in Japan. We're looking here at a Toyota Mark II iRV. And so that's the rear wheel drive with the 1JZ 2.5 liter inline 6-cylinder single turbo engine. This engine can come with a twin turbo, but only the older models, and the single turbo version like this is a much better and more modern engine than the twin turbo version was. This also has variable valve timing with intelligence. And so this one was bought from auction. We're going to be sending this one over to the UK. This one has an automatic transmission, which makes it reasonably priced. At the moment, the 5-speed manual versions of these, as with all of the JZX cars, is ridiculously expensive. Also, have a look, Trd Wheels on it, very cool. And these are fantastic cars, good amount of power, whether you get them automatic or manual, they're still fantastic cars. If you do go with an automatic, they're very good everyday daily drivers. Great suspension geometry, makes them very fun to drive. The chassis is solid, they're super reliable, and you get that really nice, smooth and powerful engine. And if you wanted to get a little bit more power, then it's pretty easy to get out of this engine. Now I can't check the coolant because this car just came in today. It's hot, and we're going to have Volcano City if I open this up, and I don't want to have burnt hands, so I'm not going to do that. But the oil does check out. It looks like it's in good condition. Got a little bit of oil on the top of the engine here, but probably that's just a spillover from when the engine oil was put in at one point. Otherwise, the inside of the engine room is super clean and tidy. And aftermarket sports horns. I love how they call it a sports horn, as if a sports car needs a different horn from the regular one. Look at me, I got a faster car because I put sports horns on it. People are going to get out of my way much quicker. Or something. Anyway, let's take a look at what the car looks like, then I'll go translate the auction sheet for you. Okay, so pretty normal. It does have an aero kit on it, but that looks like it's a stock aero kit. And then the suspension and the wheels, I think, are a nice mix to an otherwise kind of understated looking car compared to how well it performs. Okay, so it's a 2001. Mileage on this one is 96,125. And bear with me, this is kind of a weird auction that we bought this one from, like a smaller auction that we don't buy from that often, so the structure is a little bit different from what normal auctions have. Anyways, auction grade, where is that? 4.0. Exterior is C, which I think was a little bit harsh on it. And interior is B, which I think is good. The interior is actually really nice in this, you'll see when we get in there. HID headlights on it, driver's power seat, toll collection box, and then this section here is both the seller's notes and the inspector's notes. So it's kind of mixed together there. So it says the shift knob is going to be sent later. That's why it doesn't have a shift knob in it right now. That'll come to our office, and then we'll ship that to the customer so it doesn't get stolen. Okay, adjustable suspension, so you can raise or lower the suspension height if you ever needed to. VVT-i turbo, that's just talking about the engine. Original aero parts on the car, which oddly doesn't have a cutout for the rear muffler, so it does look a little bit weird from the rear without seeing an exhaust pipe. Or maybe that's just me. Mirrors have heaters to get the condensation off of them, very cool. Keyless entry, I guess extra cool for the UK. Door mirrors paint peeling, that's right here. This is getting into the damage on the car, and this is inspected by the auction inspector, not the seller. The exterior has various small scratches and small dents. Really, the body's quite clean. You see there's a lot of marks on here, but they're all one. And one is barely noticeable. The only large damage is an A3 here, which I'll show you in a second. And then front bumper underside scratched. And that's basically it. Okay, so let's do it once around, and then I'll get into any sort of damages. And I mentioned in the other video that comes with this report that the paint on this car, the silver color paint, taking a look at the ground, I didn't want to get that late in the report. The silver paint on this is quite an interesting color of paint. It looks deeper than your usual silver does, and that might have something to do with how it's somewhat pearlescent. I quite like it. You may notice though the trunk is a slight different color than the rest of the body, and I think it's been repainted. Have a look here. And you may not be able to catch it in a camera because the camera only has a specific amount of dynamic range where an eyeball can see a lot more. You can kind of see it right there. But then at different angles, because it's pearl, it doesn't look like it's a different color. So it may have been repainted at one point. Here you can see the bumper with no exhaust cutout in it. And the pretty good looking tail lights, pretty good looking front lights. I'm a bigger fan of the JZX110, as a lot of people are, but I still very much like these cars, especially with the way that they drive. And we're getting to the point where there are not very many good JZX100s left. but there still are some JZX110s like this that are buyable in really good condition. This car looks like it, you know, if someone said this car's only 5 years old, you could believe it by looking at the interior. And you know, the styling isn't that far off from a modern car, except for being a 3-box design. Most modern cars don't have like the hood, body, trunk design. They're going to, you know, everything's a crossover now. And so I guess in some ways it may look like a 2000s car because of that, but if you were to look at a modern sedan, it's not too much different. It's just super aggressive. And you know, a lot of people are not really into that, you know, Honda Civic Type R, current Honda Civic Type R, aggressive styling. I want something a little bit cleaner, a little bit less in your face, if you know what I mean. Okay, so we'll take a look here at the wheels so you can see the offset of the wheels. Both wheels have been spaced out. There are spacers on the rear wheel is 10 millimeters and the front is like 12 millimeters, just to make it a little bit more aggressive. I think it looks good, and I really think that this car looks great with something a bit aggressive like that, because as I said, the rest of the car seems to be quite understated. Okay, going into the interior. Very clean, very nice, and the red wood is quite nice. I like that. I don't think it's real wood, but it's red and looks like wood, and it's nice. And the interior of these cars always tends to smell good, which is weird because a lot of the JZX90s, JZX100s, JZX81s, they tend to be stinky inside. So I don't know what it is about these cars making them smell better. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more 110s in kind of sports and drifting going forward as the 100s get worn out. We saw the same thing where drifting was all about the JZX90s, and then there were no more of those, and then it was all about the JZX100s, and then pretty soon there's gonna, I mean, we're already at the point where there aren't very many of them left in reasonable condition for a reasonable price. So this will be the next one, I guess. But they didn't. I feel like they didn't make as many JZX110s as they did 100s. And part of me for not making sense if I'm just talking about chassis numbers and you're not following me there. I'm sorry about that. So we got some scratches down there. Other than that, we're looking really good for the interior here. The AC controls are in here, which is a bit of a pain. I really don't like touchscreen AC. But the AC does work. The only thing is you wouldn't be able to replace this with another screen if you still want to have access to your AC, which to me kind of sucks. But these days everyone's using everything on the iPhone anyways, but an iPhone mount, and then you basically got all your infotainment if you want. CD player, MD player, doesn't have cigarettes in there. Cigarette lighter has been used, but not very much. Steering feels so good in this car. The chassis feels a good step up from the 100s too, I feel, just driving it, even though I didn't think that the 100s had a bad chassis. A few rocks in there, but it has the feeling of a clean car, so it needs a vacuum and it'll be considered a clean car. There's something really cool in the trunk I'm going to show you that I've sold a number of these. I didn't notice until today. Okay. BMW 5 Series size inside. I guess you could say E-Class, but I think E-Class is a touch bigger. I also prefer BMW over Mercedes. Okay, what do we got here? It's tinted windows in the back, so it's a little bit dark in here. And then you can put your skis through. There's a door. And look at this little slot to put your seat belts, and they're all tucked in. I love that. Okay, so going into the trunk, you just take a look at it and you're like, oh, that's a pretty decently sized trunk. You can put your stuff in easily. You have just as much room on the vertical as you do on the horizontal. Makes for an easy putting in basically any size bag. So that's pretty nice. This little flap here, you can pull that up and you got stuff in there. Wow, that's a computer. That's so interesting, Derek. You're so cool. You look underneath here, and there's pretty basic stuff in here. Original tire in there. Used. Cool thing. Take a look. This back wall is a pretend wall. It's actually. You pull this out, and you have your own little secret storage thing that you can put something in the trunk. And if somebody ever were to break into your trunk or maybe even steal your car, they probably won't notice that. And you can hide it away where it's not going to roll around in the back of your trunk and scuff up this bottom fabric, which is a common thing with I guess any car that you go around corners in. It's cool, and I never noticed it until now. Okay, that is the end of the review here. That is my car. Oddly, we got the car and it ran like piss, and it turned out that the timing was wrong. And the SR20 is a timing chain. So who intentionally changes the timing on their car so that you can't get any boost at all? Very strange. Anyways, this one here is the end. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out the comment section for fun with other people if you like that kind of thing. And thanks for watching, everyone. Bye for now.